Fam, this Mind the Mic podcast is proudly brought to you by Manscaped. Before we get into this episode, I want to give you the opportunity to check out manscaped.com and use our promo code Mind the Mic. That's one word, Mind the Mic, for 20% off plus free shipping across the entire website. That's it. Manscaped.com, code Mind the Mic for 20% off plus free shipping across everything on the website, where you can get cool things just like this. The Lawnmower 5.0. Look, it's even got a light, and you can trim up all them unnecessary hairs, get rid of them. It's actually made for the downstairs, but you can use it for both if you want. They also have beard trimmers, especially for the beard. But this one here is actually made for the downstairs. So get amongst it, get rid of all them loose hairs hanging around down there. And once you've done that, make sure you clean up that nose too. So we got the Weed Whacker 2.0 for the nose. The Weed Whacker 2.0 is for the nose and the ears. We all get annoyed by those hairs, don't we? And we got the crop soother. So once you finish that undercarriage, come get some of this crop soother in your life. What's crop soother? It's an aftershave for the down there. But I've done it. I've tried it. And it doesn't sting like your dad's aftershave. So you're good to go. And if you want to keep it smelling nice, we got the crop preserver. Deodorant for the balls. That's anti-chafing. Not to mention these are waterproof, fam. So if you're like, yeah, but I like those manual ones because I can use them in the shower. Well, never fear. Manscaped is here. Go hard in the shower. It's waterproof, fam. Good present for your dad, for your brother, your boyfriend, your husband. Well, brothers, treat yourself. Go get you some Manscaped in your life. Use promo code Mind the Mic for 20% off plus free shipping across everything on the website. Enjoy the episode. Make sure you subscribe and get some Manscaped in your life. Mind the Mic. Hey, welcome back to another Mind the Mic podcast. I'm your host, Shubz, here with a very special guest that we try to do this dance many times. Had a few false starts, a few little setbacks, but as the bro said to me in one of those many setbacks that we had is that I'm a big believer in not forcing things, so when it's meant to happen, it'll happen. And here we are. We're finally making it happen with the bro, Jeremy Donovan. He's an artist, a speaker, and a healer too, I've heard as well. So how are you, brother? Proud Indigenous man as well. How are you, my man? Big love.
It's so good to be here, bro. Just as you're talking, I'm getting goosebumps. I remember the message that I sent to you, about forcing time. I'm a big believer in just, when the time is right, things come to life. And, here we are. But, bro, I couldn't be happier. I'm on Palm Island, which is an Aboriginal community off the coast of Townsville. I've got plenty of family connection here. So I'm just, pretty much, as we say, on country for the next couple of months, working up here. So it's a pretty good place to call home.
You're the on country. I guess for anybody that doesn't know, brother, who you are, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that would, love to know. Can you give us a little background on yourself, brother?
Yeah, brother. I'm a very proud Gulgul Yalanji man. So the Gulgul Yalanji country starts about an hour north of Cairns, around Port Douglas, stretches all the way about 4 hours north to Cooktown, and then west out to a tiny little town called Chillago. And that's the traditional country of the Gulgul Yalanji people. And that's my father's family. That's my grandfather's country. My grandmother.
How do you say that, brother? Gulgul Yalanji, yes. Is it?
Gulgul Yalanji.
Oh, Gulgul Yalanji. Okay.
Yeah, the word Gulgul means the language we speak, and Yalanji means on this country.
Okay. So this is Gulgul Yalanji country.
Okay. So, and then my grandmother's country, she's a Gumbaynggirr woman. On my biological mum's family, they are non-Indigenous, come from Ireland, Scotland, like the majority of other Australians. But I grew up away from culture. In fact, as a young person growing up, my identity was defined by being Māori. And so, I've got a pretty, the backstory on that is that, I was born up in far northern Queensland and then came down to Sydney and then was placed into permanent care. So whāngai Māori, with a Māori father, Samoan mother. And so as a young boy, from the time I was 7 years old, my identity was defined by kapahaka, by understanding of this notion of tangata whenua, understanding who my whakipapa was on, from my father's family. And, it was, really it nurtured me as a young broken kid, that was broken by a system. That connection to kapahaka, especially as a young boy growing up, really gave me a sense of identity. But tragically, well, not tragically, but at 13 years old, I found out that in fact that I wasn't Māori, that I was, Murray, which is like the same term that, the Western Australia or the, Perth region people identify as Noongar. We say Murray, we say Murray, up here, which is the collective term for all Queensland Aboriginal people. And we often laugh, when my dad was, still alive, we used to joke, say, because Dad always said that they told him I was Māori, but we think they said Murray, and Dad just was like, oh, cheers, sweet as break, we'll take it. and that was, and that's, sort of how the cookie went. And, as a young boy, I found myself incarcerated at the first time for 13 years old. And then that tragic tale, of just in and out, and spent the majority of my young teenage life incarcerated, 11 sentences in juvenile detention, 2 up into the big house as an adult, before I would return back to Cape York, back to my grandparents, and my life would start to change immensely.
Before we get into all that stuff, brother, where was Dad from? The Māori.
So Dad was Tainui. He was from King Country out on Waitomo.
Oh, Maniapoto.
Yeah. So I have this incredible.
We cousins, brother. I got a bit of that.
Whānau,
my cousin. Yeah.
One of my great memories, or no, not memories, but one of my greatest experiences was. I had the privilege to take the didgeridoo or yiraki or yigi and play didgeridoo in Waitomo Caves with the incredible Dame Kiri Te Kanawa. And so we did this cross-cultural concert. It was amazing.
Wow, bro! Because I used to live as a kid, but I lived in Te Kuiti. I lived in Te Kuiti, brother, and we used to go up into the old Waitomo. Yeah, shout out to Kiri Te. What a buzz! That's pretty buzzy. Yeah, whānau cast.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Waitomo, and especially if you think about the whānau, your whānau, your Māori whānau that you in. The fact that you were able to go back to, where the old man comes from, brother, to his whenua, and perform there. That's pretty cool, brother. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, even now, like, I wish the goosebumps, as we talk about it, it's such a big part of who I am today, and still today that, work, right now I'm doing this project up on Palm Island where it's a collaboration between myself and a really amazing artist, Matty Bro, who's Māori, so the collaborations keep going on that, this family connection, even my son.
Even Primal Warrior.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the relationship between me and T, we got this strong connection. And so I think that's one of the beautiful parts about this understanding or this concept of whānau. It's so much greater than, what our blood would define.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And, and we constantly are building our family. And I think one of the other brothers from Primal Warrior Tops, he said to me, it's your vibe that will, attract your tribe, And so these days, here we are, the vibe that brings us together.
Yeah, that's indeed. What did you say about your son, brother, before I cut you off there?
Oh, so yeah, my son, he's now in a relationship, married to a Māori girl. So, like this, it's a really great privilege, that this can be part of my life, and continue to be part of my life.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. You spoke on before that you used 11 sentences before you went to the big house. What was the first day like when you ended up in juvie? What was the? Yeah,
I distinctly remember the first court appearance more than anything.
Oh, okay.
Because I was in court for malicious damage. I'd smashed up a shop window, and I was at that point had no understanding of what being Aboriginal was about. That I just found out that my biological father was Aboriginal. I wasn't Māori. All of a sudden, I'm in the children's court, Bajura Children's Court in Glebe, and about to go before the magistrate. And
in Glebe, was that Sydney?
Yeah, in Sydney.
Oh, true.
And so I'll go into the toilet and I shut the toilet door and there's an Aboriginal flag painted on the back of the door. And I really, at that point, made this crazy, connection to culture based on court and based on prison, and my first sentence, the moment I walked through those gates, all of a sudden, we went from being a minority population to a majority. It's, that's the heartbreaking reality that, still continues across Australia today, is that as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, we make up 4% of the total population, yet our juvenile prisons are 76%. And in some cases, in some areas, 100% of the kids in there are Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander kids. And the population doesn't change that much when you go into the adult prison. We're about 50% of the population in there. So, in this outside Australia, this outside world, we're a minority. Incarcerated, we are a majority. And that's a massive tragedy.
It is a massive tragedy. I see those same effects in my own homeland. Like as Māori, we are the most incarcerated too, and we don't make up obviously a lot more of the population than 4%, but to the same tone, because there's more Māori in prison than there are anything in Aotearoa in New Zealand, and it's the sad thing is, it's as sad as it is, it was designed that way. The whole system was designed that way to keep us suppressed and to keep us under and to keep us, you know what I mean? Like, and anybody that thinks that it wasn't is just stupid. You know what I mean? Like, because like the facts show, but like you said, brother, if Torres Strait and Aboriginal brothers and sisters make up 4% of the country's population, then they shouldn't be 76% of the of juvenile, or even 50% of adult prisoners. That just shouldn't be the case.
It's a broken system, that thrives on poverty, that thrives on pain, that thrives on dispossession of culture and land. And so it's when I go today, I have this incredible privilege where I get the opportunity to go back and work inside juvenile detention centers or even in adult facilities. And one thing I notice, I look around and some of the brothers and sisters I get to speak to, they're probably some of our best leaders, but they've just led in a really dysfunctional way because of the system and the environment that has tried to, that they've grown up in. And, this is, like the, history around the world, some of the strongest voices, the best way to silence them is to incarcerate them. You look at, the great Nelson Mandela, he sat there incarcerated for standing up for the rights of colored people.
That's a good point, brother. And you're right, like literally in a fully, obviously, oppressive society where you'd have a bloody Don Pass to just go down the street, you know what I mean, if you wanted to do certain things, like and to like what I think is very interesting about Mandela is obviously he endured 27 years or whatever it was. I don't know the exact number. I know it was 20 something in prison, 18 of them on Robben Island, you know what I mean, incarcerated, supporting every team that played against the Springboks, all of that kind of stuff, just because, the white Afrikaans guards were big, Springbok supporters. But to come out and then to be like, hey, like, because obviously a lot of his, people were like, well, now that we've got a bit of power here, let's bloody stick it to them. But it's not about that, bro. Like, it's about humanity at the same time. Let's try and be here, not now we're here, and like let's do what they did to us, like and it's about bridging that gap, brother. I really like that, because I remember there was a time when they were going to try and get rid of the Springbok emblem and their colors, and then Mandela went to the meeting of that sports council and told them, nah, like if we do that, we lose them and we become what they fear, and then we become them to us. We don't want to be that. We want to be here. So,
I mean, this is the amazement of this man. This and when we look at the power of humanity here, here's a man that has every right to, when he finally gets out of jail, to hate the system, to hate the society. But he just had so much grace in the way he stood up and said, no, let's not become the enemy. Let's actually walk together. And, you know, he united a nation that was so broken by absolute racial discrimination. And he just strived to make a better world. He didn't condemn, you know, the people that imprisoned him. In fact, he said, walk with me. And he extended his hand in such a gracious manner. I mean, it's such a, you know, for me, a reflection that I constantly reflect on, you know, the voice of, you know, some of our most significant elders. And I look at my grandparents as, you know, great examples. Their life was so different to mine. And
tell us about them, brother.
My grandfather was probably the greatest influence of my life. You know, notwithstanding, you know, the incredible mother and father that, you know, that I moved into, you know, care with as a 7-year-old. But the reality was, you know, my grandfather especially, you know, grew up in a time where racial policies of Australia, you know, basically put him on a reserve. He needed exemption paperwork to walk down a street. He needed, you know, that they could only attend the movie cinemas once a month, and it was called the monkey movie. It was called monkey movies because all the monkeys could go there at that time. Like, I mean, and here is, you know, then when I meet my grandfather, I hear these stories, you know, like I'm like fuck this, like I want to fight against this. And my grandfather, no, he's like, he was the one who, when I met him at 16 years old, I was angry. I hated the world. You know, in fact, you know, I had "fuck the world" tattooed across my shoulders when I was in juvenile detention. You know, like that was the narrative of the life that I was bringing. And my grandfather was like, all these child psychologists and pediatrics that we were forced to sit with used to say to me, "You've got to let go of this anger. You've got to let go of this hatred. You've got to let go of this hurt. You've got to let go of this rage." It was my grandfather that really said, no, don't ever let go of your rage, but don't let it hurt anybody. He said, you've got to understand that your rage is like a fire. If you tip petrol on it, it burns everyone and everything. But if you bring the right timber to that fire, it will nurture everyone around you. And it was such an amazing analogy because it was never about extinguishing my fire, but it was ensuring that my fire nurtured people, protected people, kept people safe. And it was such a blessing hearing that, because, you know, all these, you know, behavioral patterns that, you know, that I've got, the ADHDs, all these things that were condemned, you know, they're actually the thing that make me have given me this success, or given me the life that I live today. Because, you know, if it wasn't for my ADHD, I wouldn't be so focused. I wouldn't be so driven, I don't believe. If it wasn't for that rage that, you know, that my grandfather identified, that actually drives me to take care of people, to take care of the world around me. You know, notwithstanding that, you know, I've had my challenges too, you know, that for all of the amazing things that, you know, comes with the life that we've lived, you know, there's also been some really tough times, you know, like, so, you know, even through success, I still found myself subjecting myself to horrific amounts of addiction, you know, and there was a point, you know, where, you know, depression and, you know, suicidal ideation, you know, was a big part, you know, of, you know, my life, that I didn't know how to exist. I was like, what I called, you know, I call it all the time, the Robin Williams syndrome, where I was the life of the party, but I was dying inside, you know, like, so I would get commissioned for this incredible artwork, you know, like there was this, you know, I was commissioned, you know, all my artwork was put on the coffee tins, on the Nestle coffee tins. An incredible opportunity. It was an incredible opportunity. You know, you're walking up the supermarkets, all my artwork's there. I got paid a large amount of, you know, cash, $100,000, you know, but it was at a time when I was really broken, you know, like I just finished working on the Royal Commission into the abuse against the kids that were incarcerated in Dondale, where I did all the face-to-face interviews. I really re-traumatized myself. It was at a time when, you know, the marriage that I was in had come apart, you know, and, you know, I basically turned to cocaine as a vice to try and survive, and, you know, developed, you know, there was a time, you know, over a period of probably 12 months where I was surviving on $1,000 a day of cocaine use, you know, like, and I was still managing to hold my work together, but I was fucking killing myself with addiction. And, but I remember distinctly when I got this Nestle contract, I called all the boys. I was like, boys, it's on, like party time. Like,
we on, let's
we on, like, and just, tip the mountain of cocaine out on the table and fuck. But, 4 days later, when all the money's gone, when all the coke's gone, everyone else is gone,
It's it, brother.
And I'm there left, sort of, with all of my same trauma, but now I'm left there with it, trying to piece it together by myself. And, and I certainly know after, listening to, many of your podcasts and different things, some of the challenges that you've faced in your own life with, depression and, different challenges. Like, I know that feeling. I'm only here by the hands of God. I'm not necessarily a religious person, brother, but I believe in something much greater than me. There has to be. There was two significant times where I did everything I possibly could to check out of this place, and for whatever reason, like, and even now as I speak, for whatever reason, it just didn't work. One of those times I had installed a brand new, pillar out on my veranda, on my deck. And, it snapped straight in the middle when I put myself. It shouldn't have come down.
Same. Yeah. I didn't install it, but it shouldn't have came down.
It shouldn't have came down, and it was at that point that I realized that there was a far greater purpose for the voices of people like yourself, like me, like other brothers and sisters out there that have, seen the darkness that we get into, and I think that's one of the most challenging things sometimes, that people like yourself, like me, that just have such a love for life, but all of a sudden the light starts to get dimmed because of the influences or the environment that we're in. The challenges that we put on ourselves, like for me, I felt like I was failing as a father because, I'd left their mother. I'd left, all of a sudden I was addicted to drugs. I was saving the world, but couldn't save myself. And it was, a really difficult time. But, I look back on that time, and in fact, I look at my life, and tragically, it's all of those hardships and obstacles that I've gone up and over that actually give me the rise, give me the strength to rise. It's where that resilience comes from. And it's, now I look at my life today, and, I haven't touched a drug for over 5 years now. And when it comes down to it, I'm an addict. When people, I will never say I'm recovered or reformed. I'm an addict, bro. Like, that's it. I'm a straight up addict. And now it's just been addicted to the things that make me healthy, bro, like for me, I chase happiness. I love happiness. The feeling of happy, being around happiness, being around people that lift you up, that elevate you, that believe in you. One of the big things about, the life I live today is I don't have time for people that are going to be sad and miserable, and wallow in their own misery. I understand that we go through grief and sadness, but don't project your sadness on me because I make you uncomfortable with my happiness. And it's one of the biggest things. I love helping people see that what they perceive as sadness or happiness is only momentary. It's only a momentary thing. That actually, if you invest your energy into love and happiness, it outweighs everything. Because when you're angry and when you hate on things, it consumes you. When you love and when you're happy and when you invest, it basically, that energy of love and hate is the same output. The only difference is one takes away from you and the other one replenishes you. And so, if you have the ability and the hindsight to actually invest into these happiness, invest into yourself, into all those things that bring you happiness, and all of a sudden happiness just surrounds you.
100%, brother. I think there's a couple of dope points that you really made there, brother. One was the fire in your grandfather speaking. I guess a lot of people could call that ego or whatever, because I hear a lot of people say get rid of your ego, but I don't think you should, because we're driven with it too. It's like controlling it, right? You could, and as you said, you could it could burn your house down, or it could keep you warm. It could, fuel you. It can, cook food for your babies. All that kind of stuff you could use for your fire. I think another cool point coming from your grandfather and being this proud, beautiful Indigenous man is the fire keeper, which is big in your culture as well. Like, I think that's a cool thing to hear, brother. Another thing you said about, hey, come on, that's us lads, we're on. We're on, boys. We're on, and then as soon as it's gone, they go. My uncle said, "Shout out to my uncle Tan." He said something to me once. Once upon a time, I said, because I've always been that guy too, brother. That would like, if I've got it, brother, we're all on. Let's go. And I still am. You know what I mean? But then realizing that always being that way but then when you have nothing, everyone's gone. Or only the real ones are still around, and the ones that you thought, oh, these are my brothers for life, like. Where you at, homie? But he said to me, he goes, Neff, when the well runs dry, the villagers will go somewhere else to drink, to drink water, I was like, oh, I don't know, that always sat with me. It's been years now since he sent that message to me.
It's so profound that, and it's true. What the people who I really thought were brothers, or friends, or even family, they're not. The moment that the moment the bank ended, the moment the cash stopped, nobody called. It's not like they said a bad thing about you.
Nah.
Because
that's why they were there, brother. Hey,
he's fucked. He's broke. He's broke. Or we'll go somewhere else. And that's the thing is that today, the life that I'm living and that I've been able to rebuild, and I actually I reflect a lot on COVID. COVID was one of the greatest gifts to me, because I was forced to shut my business down. The majority part of my work is public speaking, conferences, and so it took a while before, video calls and streaming at events became a thing. And then I realized that I was disconnected from the human energy and the human connection. Yeah. So I didn't enjoy it. So I decided to just shut my business down. All the events had been canceled. I couldn't travel overseas for art exhibitions. So I just took off, and I realized that I needed to get away and continue my healing for myself. And, at that time, I got an opportunity to travel up to the remote Kimberley, up to Kununurra.
I used to live up there, brother.
Yeah, so I took a job up there with the Native Title Organisation, and it was an amazing opportunity working on social programs, setting up social programs to support social change within the Native Title. And when I wasn't doing that, I was out on country. I was fishing. The land up there was incredibly beautiful, and the other part was I found love. I wasn't looking for it, but I fell in love up there, and with someone, and she took my breath away and captured my heart. And it's amazing when you least expect it, it comes running at you. And so at that, if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have had that time for the healing that I really needed to go through. And part of that healing was love, and feeling really loved and appreciated. And the beautiful part about it was when I went to Kununurra, I was a nobody, brother. Like I wasn't the public speaker, I wasn't the artist, I wasn't.
True.
I was just a social worker, and it was so amazing, bro, because nobody cared, like it wasn't about, oh fuck, he's famous, or oh, check him out, Google him. Like, see, nobody actually knew, and so I could just actually be, I could be loved for just who I was as a person, and it was a really special time. But when the borders opened, I was well and truly, done with Kununurra. I was, not, as beautiful as it is. The dreams that I had were limited by the location, and so we picked up, our families, and we came back to the Gold Coast. And it just has been, one of the greatest blessings, because it gave me the opportunity to rebuild my brand and my business how I want my business to operate, not how the world wanted me to be, but just rebuild my business for who I am. So I am very clear about, sort of the conferences that I speak at. I want them to align with my own values, around my own integrity. I don't want to be I don't want to be controlled on, oh, we're not really going to talk about that because that's going to make us uncomfortable. No, let's talk about suicide. Let's confront it face on. You know, like, let's talk about poverty and call it poverty. Let's not call it low socioeconomic because it makes you feel safe. It's fucking flat out poverty. You know, like, that's the truth. And then the other part, you know, obviously, you know, just getting back on, you know, on your feet, and you start rebuilding your brand, and people said, fuck, you know, you were all the way at the top and you fell to the bottom. You'll never get back there. I'm like, fuck you. You know, say it again. I dare you to tell me I'll never make it, because it's the thing that has always made me great. And while I shouldn't care about what people say, I love proving someone wrong. That if you tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna prove you are. And you know, part of my trouble as a young person was like, you know, people would say, nah, you'll never get away with that. And I was like, fuck you, I'll prove you wrong. And, you know, oh, you can't steal that Mustang. Of course I can, you know. You know, so it's, you know, I've always been, you know, driven by, you know, the perception or the lack of belief that someone else had. You know, so when someone said you could never do that, I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. Of course I can. You know, so I had this incredible privilege in the year 2000, which is, you know, 24 years ago, right? You know, to this date, you know, I was the didgeridoo player who opened up the Sydney Olympics back in the year 2000 in Sydney.
That was you, Cuz. Wow,
yeah, bro.
That was you.
And the night that Kathy Freeman, you know, stopped the nation, you know, the race that truly stopped the nation. You know, I don't like to talk about the Melbourne Cup as the race that stops the nation, but Kathy Freeman,
that was the real one.
Yeah, she stopped the nation, and everyone celebrated this incredible Aboriginal woman who had just won gold for Australia. And that night I was playing didgeridoo for the Australian ambassador to Switzerland in this like corporate suite. It was very fucking pompous, you know, but the reality was I was getting paid to sit there and play and entertain. But the Australian ambassador, he came over to me, and it was the first time I was ever honest with a stranger about my life. When he asked me, had I ever been overseas? And I said to him that I need 7 years of no conviction before I can get out of this country. And he's like, whoa, what do you mean? I was like, well, you know, here's the story: incarceration all through my... And I'd always been told that don't talk about it. People are going to judge you. Most people don't understand prison. So they are very prejudiced around people that have been, and they are, you know, still today, you know, that, but I'm okay. That if that makes you feel unsafe, that's okay. We'll never be friends anyway.
Sweet ass. I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah. Latest, bro.
Later, bro.
You know, that what happened was this gentleman, the Australian ambassador to Switzerland, he was like, man, like, your story is incredibly heartbreaking, but it's incredibly powerful. And, you know, this gentleman would go on to change my life, because he organized for me to get a diplomatic invitation to Geneva, to the United Nations, where at 21 years old, I told my story about the abuse that we were subjected to in the foster care system, the physical abuse, the sexual abuse. I talked about the abuse that we're subjected to and the demoralizing conditions that you're confronted with in incarceration. And then I talked about the beauty that came from culture, you know, and, you know, the confronting conversations that my grandfather would have, that, you know, like sitting in a room not dissimilar to where I am right now. And my grandfather's like, you know, see that number, that, you know, 164320, your min number, like, that's all you'll ever be. Or you can dream to become somebody. And I was like, whoa, like, I thought dreams were for the privileged. I thought dreams were for the rich. I didn't realize that dreams were for anybody, and that dreams are free, and that you can fucking dream as many times as you like in this life, and anything is possible, and your dreams will come to life.
I love this, because this is a good segue, brother, because a mate of mine, brother, real recently did a picture, brother, did this mural, brother, and I just want to show you this. My bro Jeremiah Donovan, he did this mural, brother, which is teach our children to dream, believe in their dreams. Oh, that was you, brother. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean that's one of my quotes, you know, like, so, you know, this is the artwork that me and the brother Matty bro are working on, you know, but that's like, teach our children to dream and then believe in their dreams, because, you know, adults are so quick, even our friends, brother, are so quick to squash our dreams. You You know, and so therefore you have to be brave enough to chase your own dreams and to, you know, I always say that my dreams are like a garden, and they're like dreams are seeds. And so I can either walk out to my garden and just chuck the seeds in the garden and hope for the best, and there's a good chance nothing's going to grow. Or I can very carefully, turn the soil before I plant the seeds. Then I plant the seeds, and then every day I take the right water, I take the nutrients out, I take everything that's going to make this dream come to life, and then I watch that garden grow. And I always talk about it that I live by a garden of dreams. And that everything that I dream to achieve is based on a concept of a dream. And there are no limitations to it. And the beautiful thing about dreams, brother, is that sometimes you get halfway there and then you realize, oh, that actually wasn't and so it's okay. You didn't fail. You just have grown. You've outgrown that dream, and so, this project here that we're working on at the moment is I guess we're probably going to paint over 200 meters of concrete in the next, month, with incredible murals. And people said to us that, that's a big call. You probably won't be able to do it so quickly. I'm like, I look at this wall that's 5 meters long and 3 meters tall, and we did it in a day. Don't tell me that I can't do it, because I know we can. I believe in this dream.
Beautiful, brother. I just want to share something too, brother, on myself, why that really resonates with me. When I was a child, brother, 5, 6, 7, 8, like every year, but I remember vividly being 5, 6, 7, 8 was when, like, I remember at this beginning, I had visions of sitting on a stage and speaking to thousands of people, brother, and I didn't know why. Initially I thought it would be maybe because of football, because I went all right at football, and then I thought later on I did a bit of music, and I thought, oh, maybe that's what it will be. But I know now, brother, this year, like, I started this podcast 7 months ago, and we're like, over 300 episodes, but 300 not willy-nilly, 300 of value. You know what I mean? Of so many interesting stories and so many different shows that I've started to with all my homies who are, who were there before things popped off and are still here now. When the water ran dry, they were still there, brother. You know what I mean? With the real ones that are still here with me, and to be able to realize, I just realized now that this is what that vision was that I've had since a little kid, but I never ever spoke it out loud, brother, to anybody until like a month ago. I said it on a podcast, and then I blew people away first time. But that just really resonated with me as that little kid who dreamt, brother, and continues to dream. And also having children now myself, 3 little kids there. I just, as people say, we want our kids to be everything. But brother, I just tell my kids every day, like, whatever, bro, you got this, my son. You got this, my baby. You got this,
Absolutely.
my girl. You know what I mean? And why not? If they, like my son, for example, he's like you, my brother, got a gift when it comes to art and stuff. Amazing. He's only 7, just turned 7 this year, but like he's probably the most the most creative drawer I've ever seen, and he's only 7 years old, brother. But he loves it. He could sit there all day and just draw and make different things, and he's amazing, brother. But some people would say, oh, he spend too much time drawing. Maybe he should go learn other shit. Maybe this is what he's made for. You know what I mean?
People used to say this all the time. Like, I don't know why you're fucking around with drawing. You're never going to be able to pay your rent with an artwork. Bro, yeah. I pay too much rent with an artwork.
But that's right, brother. That's right.
People used to say you'll never be able to survive playing didgeridoo. Well, come to me now. I've had the privilege of playing didgeridoo in Buckingham Palace twice, in the White House. I've had my own show at Las Vegas. We call the First Man. That there's no limits to the dream. That I was brave enough to dream, and I water them. I don't wait for someone else to come and water my garden or tell me how to grow this garden. I water it every day, and I surround myself with people that also believe in my dreams, because I always talk like dreams are infectious, brother. The moment, and they're like a STD, they fucking spread like wildfire, so, it's like chlamydia. And it's one of those things that, I tell people my dream, and because I'm so passionate, they have no choice. They're like already infected. Now they believe in my dream. And then they go, oh, fuck, I met this brother. He's got like this. And all of a sudden they're infected. And before I know it, my fucking dream is rolling and it's got momentum and it's starting to fucking snowball down the hill. And that's, you know, the most incredible part about dreams is they gather in momentum. The more people that, you know, sort of, you know, that actually put energy into investing into your dreams, the more hope that you have in coming to life. And so it's a really powerful projection is that when kids sit there and they're doodling and they're drawing and they're doing anything, you know, put everything in your power in front of them, you know, to say to your son, have you seen this artist? This guy's called Salvador Dali, you know, and he paints these really, you know, amazing, you know, sort of skew pictures of giraffes with, you know, long legs or put the great artists in front of him and just rather than squash his dreams, inspire his dreams, you know, to realize that anything is possible. You know, with music, you know, if a kid's showing musical talent, put a guitar in their hand. If they don't like the guitar, put a saxophone, put a flute, put the drums, whatever it is, instead of saying, like, because often our own prejudice is like, especially as fathers, right? I grew up playing rugby union. Rugby was all that we played. It was like, that's what I wanted my sons to be. But really, deep down now, I realize that I just want my sons to dream. I just want them, I want my daughters to have a dream, believe in their dreams. And if you believe in your dream, I will do everything in my power to bring that dream to life. You know, like, so right now, like my second son, my second eldest boy is signed with Manly in the you know, Jersey Flag. So under 19s, under 21s, I think it is, you know, hoping for a top 30 contract next year. My daughter is, you know, signed with IMG Models. You know, she wants to model, and then, you know, this year featured on like 9, you know, of the catwalks, you know, for the Australian Fashion Week. You know, it's for me, it's about my responsibility, my obligation to my children is just to believe in their dreams, you know, and do whatever I have in my power to help bring this dream to life. You know, I'm not going to do the work for you.
Nah, that's him.
You know, but if you tell me that you've got a dream and I see you doing everything in your power, I'm going to invest into that dream and I'm going to help you bring that to life. And it's the same thing with, you know, the tight circle of friends or that I have around me today is that if they have a dream, I'm going to believe in that dream and I'm going to do everything in my power to celebrate their dream. You know, whether it, you know, T, who was on your show, Tahira, you know, he's one of the most, you know, amazing brothers of mine. And, you know, we spend so much time talking, but every conversation is about elevation. You know, like
that's what I noticed too, because I keep in touch with them quite a lot, brother, as well. You know, and you know, I'll probably pester you too here and there if
brother, I'm here. You know, and the amazing part about T, right? So this is the funny connection. Me and T have only hung out for like, you know, since Primal Warrior started, like back in March. We met, you know, with a connection for the first time. But you know, the interesting thing is, T would have told you, you know, he came to Australia with you know, with Wild Boys of Flag as a stripper, as a dancer, and then when a Thunder from Down Under went to Las Vegas, T was there, and it was at the same time that I had my show there called The First Man, which is, and so they found out that there's there's an Australian fella here playing didgeridoo. And so they came to me and they're like, oh, can you play didgeridoo? I was like, hell fucking no. I'm not playing didgeridoo with a bunch of naked guys on stage. There's enough didgeridoo on that stage already.
Too many didgeridoo, or maybe they might maybe you thought they were asking you to play a different didgeridoo.
So you know, so when we reconnected, you know, and obviously, you know, T had you know, had his life was so changed, you know, and he, you know, was running his successful businesses and, you know, continuing to build his businesses. But this amazing, you know, reminder that that timing is everything, because when we met all those years ago, neither of us were ready for the friendship or the brotherhood.
No. Yeah.
And now, you know, when our lives collided again as a result of Primal Warrior, the time was perfect. It's what we both needed in our lives, you know, in terms of this brotherhood of investment, of, you know, bouncing ideas off, constantly having ideas, you know, motivating change, motivating, you know, sort of our health, all of those different things has been, you know, sort of this incredible opportunity. And the people that I have around me, even, you know, this brother that I'm working on this mural project with at the moment, Matty, like I've followed his artwork for years, you know, and then I knew he lived on the Gold Coast, the same area. So I just reached out to him. I was like, brother, can we catch up? And he's like, yeah, sure. You know, he just finished a project. I sat down with him. I was like, brother, I'd love to take you on this journey up to Palm Island on this community to create these, you know, collaborations. And, you know, we jumped in the car on last
get him
week.
on the podcast, brother.
Yeah, I've already told him that, you know, that I want him to come on this podcast.
Yeah,
Bro,
that's us.
he's going to be in Perth in like at the end of this project. He's coming across to paint the World Gym over there in Perth. So, but you know, we sat in the car and we drove from the Gold Coast all the way to Lucinda, 17 hours drive, non-stop. Yeah. And bro, we just talked the whole way. And you know, and that was when we realized, like, oh, like there's a connection, there's a brotherhood here. And before we even had worked together as a collaboration, we already knew that we would be able to collaborate on this because, you know, the vibe, the tribe, you know, that had brought us together.
Yeah, solid, brother. Wait, on what the playing the didgeridoo, not the manpower didgeridoo, the real one. Like, what's it like going to Buckingham Palace? Like when you think about it, like the home of colonization. Like what's that like?
One of my favorite things is that I actually stole the knife and fork from Buckingham Palace.
Oh man, that's sick.
I was like,
that's cool.
I was like, as if they haven't stolen enough from me.
Fucking knife, Fuzzy. Fucking knife. I like that.
It's not quite the land, but it's a knife and fork.
No, but something, Custer, something. You get something back, brother.
Yeah, look, you know, to tell you the honest truth, brother, it was you know, amazing opportunity, but I've had so many greater experiences, like, you know, playing didgeridoo, you know, all through America and Canada and Alaska, you know, working with like First Nations people around the world, and doing these incredible collaborations and working with, you know, Navajo, Hopi Indians up in, you know, sort of, you know, the canyon lands of Arizona was really. Are
you going to like the reserves or whatever? Or
yeah, absolutely. You know, like so Tuba City, I spent a lot of time in Tuba City, which is
country,
the Navajo.
if you think about it, man, on country.
Yeah, Navajo and Hopi reservations. So, you know, spent amazing times in Canyon de Chelly. You know, I kayaked down the Grand Canyon with a couple of Navajo brothers that I'd met. Like amazing experiences where we're collaborating with song and putting our flute and the didgeridoo together, or you know, like just
getting
it feels like you know, that's what the ancestors that we're just part of the plan, but we're not in control of it. And yeah, so
give us a top three, cuz. Give us a top three all-time experiences and places that the didgeridoo has brought you to, like around the world.
So this year, so I'm going to start like, so they're in no order of, you know, sort of, you know, top three, but in April this year, myself and 9 other, you know, sort of good, like friends, family, like Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island brothers, we trekked to the top of Everest Base Camp, and I carried the didgeridoo, you know, to, you know, 5,500 meters and got to play there. And to me, there was a lot of healing. Like, that was, well, there's two parts to that. So it was very healing because I used to joke with the boys, you know, when the party was on, I was like, fuck, come on. Well, I've got a Meriton hotel room and I've got Mount Everest on the table, you know? And so I wanted to heal that concept. I really wanted to get to Mount Everest and, you know, without a blocked nose, but actually, you know, get to the top. And it was the most incredible experience of my life, climbing that. You know, that it was tough mentally. I had to go through all of the mental emotions of it. I remember the day that I got to base camp, I recorded a video and sent it home to the missus and to the kids, and it really just was a message of my appreciation, and like I get emotional still because like
100.
like they loved me when I was down, you know, and they didn't give up, and they stuck by me and loved me for who I was. And you know, so when I got to the top there and I sent that video back, bro, like it was I was so grateful for the love that they gave me. And yeah, I mean, you can tell, like, it's like, to me, my kids are my kids are my world, you know, my stepkids, you know, as well. Like they're I live for them, you know. I live for inspiring, for being a representation that anything is possible in life. And that there is the only limitation in your life will be the one that you put on yourself. Like, no man can put a limitation on you. You can believe in someone else's limitation, but no one can. So, you know, Everest was amazing. You know, and, you know, the fortunate part about that was we raised $90,000 or $80,000, I think it was, for the Black Dog Institute around suicide, you know, for the Lived Experience Center of Suicide Prevention. You know, tragically, too many of us brown people have been affected by, you know, the effects of suicide. You know, we all know someone. We've all been there, you know, unfortunately. So to be able to raise and give money to a charity for that was amazing. The next experience was the Amazon, bro. I've spent, you know, a couple of weeks in the Amazon, in the dark jungle. I'll send them to you offline, and you can share them if you want. But like, I got photos of me like swimming through the Amazon, like guiding one of the chiefs across the river, and like I had
Who's the piranhas, man?
I had to put band-aids on my nipples, bro, because the piranhas were wacky. Yeah, it was crazy. You know, so there's that one. And then the next experience is in, you know, the Grand Canyon, you know, the kayaking down the Grand Canyon with Navajo people, you know, peyote, you know, those experiences are incredible. The plant medicine from around the world that I've had the opportunity to, you know, to work with like shamans, with healers, with medicine men from around the world, whether it be, yeah, you know, it's, you know, the cactus, man, some of the cactus medicines were like phenomenal, you know, and it's, you know, has been, you know, such a big part of my own healing, because at the end of the day, people like yourself and me, you know, brother, and, you know, the people I surround myself are often, like, we're wounded healers, right? Like, we come from a story of pain, and through our pain, we want to heal the people around us. So it's an incredible privilege when we can take the things that almost destroyed us and use them to help other people build their life back up.
100%, brother. With this whole journey into like public speaking in there, you know, when did that begin, brother? Did that begin with the didgeridoo playing, or was there?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was sitting on an airplane from. It was at a time I was living on the Sunshine Coast, and I was sitting on an airplane from Melbourne, and like, bro, like, I get on these airplanes, and you're so cooked, right? Like, you've been at an event, you've just played didgeridoo, and you don't really want to talk to anyone. Anyway, I boarded this plane. I sat down, and this little white lady sat down next to me, and she's like, and I've got my headphones in, and my body language is like giving her my shoulder. I don't want to even say hello. I'm not being rude. I just don't want to say hello. Anyway, she said hello to me, and I had my headphones on, so I didn't answer, even though I heard her. And then she like leans forward, and she's like, hello. I'm like, oh, fuck, this is going to be one of those plane trips. Anyway, I was like, hi, how are you? And then I put my headphone back on, and she's like, she took my headphone out, bro. Like, I was like, what the? And she's like, you don't want to talk to me. I was like, sorry if it's that obvious. I said, I'm just really exhausted. And she's like, what do you do? I'm like, whoa. Like, she starts like peppering me with interrogation. I was like, are you a cop? And she's like, no, I just want to know what you do. I was like, well, I'm a didgeridoo player. She's like, whoa, my God, like, that's amazing. And then she's like out of control excited. Like, anyway, she's like, how much do you get paid to play didgeridoo? I'm like, fuck, I don't even tell my wife how much I get paid. You know, like, I was like, that's so nosy. And she goes, no. She goes, I'm a speaker. I speak at conferences. How much do you get paid? And I'm like, oh, I get paid pretty well. I get paid like $500 for like 15 minutes. She goes, that's terrible. I'm like, what? I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, I got paid $5,000 to speak for an hour. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, so, so all of a sudden now you piqued my interest. I'm like, all right, and she's like, you've got such an amazing story. You should become a public speaker. Anyway, we landed at Sunshine Coast. She talked my ears off. And I'm sitting there trying to get a taxi at the Sunshine Coast Airport. If you've ever been to Sunshine Coast Airport, shut the gate. Like, you're not going to get an Uber there. You're not going to get a taxi. And anyway, this lady pulls up in a limousine and she's like, this is what you get as a public speaker. And so she gave me a lift home, in her, like, rubbing it in my face. Anyway, that night I logged onto my website, to the back end of my website, and I changed my name, my title, from didgeridoo player to keynote speaker. And, I think it was like 10 days later, I got my first inquiry. We want to book you for a keynote speech. And I'm like, what? And then I was like so nervous. She's like, oh, can you please tell us how much you would charge? And I was like, well, I wasn't confident to say $5,000, but I literally was like, I'll still bring the didgeridoo down. I like to play the didgeridoo. I'll charge $3,500. And they, like, this lady, she answered the email so fast. She's like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. We'll send the flight.
Like, oh,
I'm like,
I was too cheap.
Yeah. And, instantly, what I did realize was, after years and years of being on the stage with the didgeridoo and, talking about culture, is that I was really comfortable on stage. Yeah. And now I had to become comfortable and learn how to tell my story in a way that was going to benefit an audience. And, the beautiful part about the life that we have and the life that we come from, and, especially, celebrating culture, whether it be, celebrating Māori culture, celebrating, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island culture, is that we have a culture that people are truly curious around the world to know.
100.
And so how do we tell this in a way that is not just a flood of culture, but it's just a little bit of information that helps us say who we are? And I worked out that, when I ran out of things to say, I could just pick up the didgeridoo and fill the silence with the sound. And before I knew it, I was, recognized as the keynote speaker. And I think in 2015, it was maybe 2016, there's like the Australian Speakers Bureau Awards, and I was awarded like Australian Keynote Speaker of the Year. Then the Time magazine rated me like the most influential keynote speaker of, Australasia. I had this incredible story and had learnt how to push my vulnerability to the edge, where I could talk about the things that were really tough, the things that we saw growing up, being exposed to death, being exposed to, drugs and overdose and all of that shit that comes with it. And then ultimately using that in a way that could benefit the world. And, adapting my story constantly, so from a corporate perspective, the corporates are the ones that pay the big money to get you out there to come and speak. It's about, celebrating this culture, celebrating this story, but working out how can I make it relevant to the business? So every conference around the country, they have a topic, so I work out how do I make my story relevant to that topic? And all of a sudden it is just that. It's, is it adapting to change? And so you can use the story of the streets about surviving, about you need to be able to adapt to the environment constantly. You find yourself in sticky situations and you have to maneuver your way out. And the same thing is, I often speak about it, is that I find it very easy to navigate my way around the boardroom because of the navigation of the streets. The things that we got ourselves involved in is that you have to think fast, you have to have intuition, and you have to trust yourself and believe in yourself. And that's the same thing in business, that all of those things will drive a business to success.
Yeah, well, there's not really much difference between a CEO and a cartel boss, brother. So,
no,
just
exactly
one's
right.
legal and one's not.
I mean, it's all about having the best product and getting it to the most amount of people.
Yeah, brother, but that's exactly right. So, Yeah, exactly. Same principles they apply.
Yep,
Exactly.
exactly right.
I'm with you on that, brother.
Yeah.
And were there any in that journey of like keynote speaking and learning your craft and honing your craft, did you look to anybody as like, oh, that's someone that I, see as an inspiration in this space
Yeah.
at all? Or
So David Attenborough.
yeah,
Yeah, bro. Man, like as a kid growing up,
Uncle Dave.
yeah. Oh man, like as a kid growing up, I struggled with dyslexia, and still do struggle with dyslexia. I have comprehensive dyslexia. So people used to talk about, oh, I read this book, it was amazing, and they went on this incredible journey, and I would never have that experience because reading was so challenging for me. But the one thing that I learnt with Uncle David Attenborough, like Sir David Attenborough, is that I could lay down next to the television and just not even watch it, but just listen to this man. And he's like, right now in the middle of the jungle, we have this incredible, and I love it. Still
Pictures
today,
the paint today that way,
bro, he paints this picture. Like still today, I will put like a David Attenborough documentary on and turn my back to the phone and fall asleep to it. It's like he caresses me to sleep.
It's a statement, Attenborough or Rolf Harris.
No, fuck Rolf Harris. Yeah. He's too much. He's like this on the hoverboard. David Attenborough. He inspired me to tell a story and bring people on a journey with it. And I mean, there's some amazing speakers that I've heard, that I've listened to, and the ones that captivate me are the ones that tell a story without even knowing they have you captured in this story. They're just taking you on this ride. And, I don't think it can be taught. You either have it or you don't. And, and this is the thing with, someone like Sir David Attenborough. I mean, he's been doing this for 60 years, and he didn't wake. I don't know that he woke up one day and said, I'm going to be the greatest TV documentary presenter. He just was that. That was his gift. That was his superpower. And it just became his journey. And he's made the world accessible to people that would never see things, and he describes it in a way. And I was having a conversation with someone who I met at a conference who was legally blind by definition. And they said to me, when I spoke about Sir David Attenborough, they really connected because they love listening to it, because without even knowing what that world looks like, because they've never seen it physically with their eyes, they can picture it. Their imagination allows them to build the exact version of what David Attenborough is talking about.
Yeah. That's on, cuz. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, brother. Before we get out of here, cuz, is there anything you wanted to tap into personally or speak on at all before we do get out of here? I do have a couple of questions before we go, though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this opportunity, this platform that you're creating, you're giving people, permission to tell their story in a way that is, really, it's so real, right? There's no orchestration to it, and the power of that is some people need permission to speak, because their voice was taken away from them, and what you're doing is you're giving people the position to open up and tell their story, and from that, you're creating a platform that is so powerful. And I have so much admiration and respect for it, because it is one. I know what it's like to be a speaker. It's incredibly exhausting. People think, what the fuck are you tired for? You're just a podcaster. But it's constant. Like, you're constantly on. Like, you're constantly listening, which prompts you the next question. Right? Nothing is orchestrated. Nothing's created. And that's the powerful thing about the world that I speak on as well, is that by me speaking it, or people often come to me and go, oh man, I wish I could tell my story. I'm like, tell me your story. And they're like, oh, it's not that interesting. I'm like, just tell me your story. And they're like, oh, it's not as interesting as yours. I was like, it's your story. It's an amazing story. So it's giving them permission, because through the permission that we create, or through the platform, we create, all of a sudden they're validating their story because somebody's listening to them for the first time sometimes. And from that, there's so much value. You know, the platform that Primal Warrior, I know that T would have touched on it. You know, we created this platform, a men's wellbeing platform. And it's giving men permission to rise and giving men permission to shine, you know, and it's giving men the ability to tap into all of the things that can make them great. You know, we're just leading them, you know, we're not telling them how to be in their life. We're just leading them to a path of greatness. You know, and they're already great. They just have had an environment around them that maybe not necessarily believed in them, that squashed their dreams. We're leading them down a path that says, no, whatever it is, brother, we believe in you. We love you. We've got you on this. You know, celebrate your life. Talk it out loud. You know, and if people criticize you, we believe in you. You know, and, you know, one of my great mentors in life was, if they're not running you down, then you're not doing the right thing. And that's the tragedy of Australia and New Zealand to that extent as well, is this tall poppy syndrome, is that people think, you know, like they want, you know, when you start doing good, they want to try and chop you down. But, you know, it's, you know, rather than prop ourselves up, like I see another brother, I see you, and I'm like, all I want to do is make you shine. You know, like I want you to succeed. You know, I'm not worried that you're going to be better than me.
Yeah,
like,
hey,
fuck.
brother,
I want you to be better than me. I want you to be the best you can.
Hard. Oh, you know, on that too, brother. That's something that I really want to, you know, obviously it's going to be a mission to break down those stereotypes or that tall poppy syndrome. But even these ones, brother, when I speak to people, when they tell their journey, they tell their story, and they say, oh, like I don't want to be like I'm not getting like I'm not trying to like big note myself, but I'm really good at this. Like taking away that I don't want to, just taking away that, because like, hey, you can be proud of you and what you're good at and what you've worked hard at and what you dream. And if it, you know, if you believe in yourself, you can speak that and not feel like, oh, I don't want to hurt you guys by me saying I'm good at this. Like, bro, just speak it.
No,
be
the best.
I want to get rid of that shit, eh? Yeah, do
like,
it, man.
You know, like I don't think there's anything wrong with you
Fuck
standing up
no.
and saying, no, I want to be the fucking best podcaster in the world. You know, what's wrong with that? Because if you don't say it, someone else is saying it, brother.
Yeah, and that's for me though, brother. That's for me and my squad, and like, you know, that's to inspire them, and it's also to inspire people that I speak to be like, hey, you can be whatever the fuck you want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's, you know, that limiting belief system, or that, you know, people often say to me like, oh, you know, like I you know, it's not like I want to be famous. I just want to be. I just want to be successful. Hang on a second. What do you want, really? Like, what do you really want? Like, for me, I know I drive success. You know, like to me, I will achieve whatever I put my heart to. You know, right? As a mural artist, as a didgeridoo player, it was about wanting to be the best. You know, that doesn't mean I'm squashing people around me, because I have so many friends that are artists, and I'm always lifting them up. I'm saying, come with me on this journey, run with me, you know? But if they can't keep up, it's not my fault.
Yeah, you've done your money. You've done the money. You've done your money. Support.
You know, so
like,
I'm all about, you know, like celebrating other artists, man. I constantly see it, like, and me and, you know, the bro Matty were talking about it, like, is that there's a lot of ego in, you know, and when I say ego, like toxic ego, whereby
uncontrolled,
where it basically tries to squash other people. Oh, nah, he's shit. He's not the right. You know, but for us, it's about celebrating the best artists, the best. You know, so I see other brothers on the community, and I'm seeing their artwork, and I'm like, wow, that is the best artwork I've ever seen. You know, really. You know, I'm not saying, oh, yeah, no, it's all right, I'm a better artist. Like, I hate that shit. I'm all about, you know, celebrating and putting, you know, like, you know, the other day I was speaking at a school, and this like little young fella, he stood up after I told my story, and he was like, oh, I was talking about ADHD and dyslexia, and I was saying it's my superpower. You know, when I was at school, the teachers used to say, oh, you're dumb, you're this, you're that, and, you know, oh, can't you sit still? Can't you just fucking sit still? Can't you, all this stuff, you know? but it's my superpower. And I was talking to these kids at this school the other
Cuz
day.
I must be all of that, eh? I've never been diagnosed. I don't even go to the doctors this much, or anything. But I got all that cuz I like this whole time, bro. My feet are moving everywhere.
Oh,
Like,
I mean,
cuz like I got all that shit too. I think,
anyway, but it's what makes this great. It's what makes us great, you know. And this little boy, he listened to it, and he's like, he stood up, and I said, "Does anyone have questions?" And he's like, "Do you think?" He's like, "I have ADHD and dyslexia. Do you think that can be my superpower?" Right? It was so beautiful because I walked down off the stage, and I just gave him a hug, and I was like, "Absolutely, bro. Let it be your cape, and you can go anywhere with this adventure."
Yeah.
And you know, to see him. The smile, you know, that somebody was just loving him for, you know, rather than squashing all these behaviors. Sit still, country control. Like, no, fuck, I can't sit still. I'm not going to. It makes me uncomfortable. You know, I want people to thrive. I want people to believe that anything is possible. You know, I was speaking to a brother of mine, like he's an artist. He's looking for some work at the moment. He hasn't been getting any work. I was like, do a video. And like put it on your socials, like saying, "Hey, I'm just in between work at the moment. Like, hit me up if you want some artwork. You can commission this or all this." Anyway, he sends me this art, like the video, and it's so lethargic. I'm like, bro, you're a fucking beast when it comes to art. But you've just said to me, you're the worst artist in the world. Like, that's what your video says to me. And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You're like, hi, I'm like, you know, like I'm just in between." I'm like, "Bro, like you've got to believe this. You've got to want this. You've got to know that you can do this." You know, and he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, I'll send you a video. And this is how my video would look if I was looking for work. I was like, straight up, "Hey, Jeremy Donovan here. You all know my artwork. Right now, I don't have any conferences. I don't have any artwork at the moment. I'm all good with that. I'm at home painting. But if you want a piece of my artwork, let me know. Let me know now. Like honestly, don't wait because someone else is going to beat you." And straight away, he's like, "No, I can't say that. That's like too." I'm like, "Fuck, say it." Anyway, he put the video up on his socials, and he sent me a text message this morning saying, "Thank you so much, brother. Someone's just bought a painting off me." I'm like,
"Let's go, brother."
I'm like, "That's it. Believe in yourself. You have to, because otherwise someone else is going to outsell you. It's like anything. You got to believe in what your dream is."
That's it, my brother. That's it. Teach our children to dream, believe in their dreams, baby. Let's get it. I love that, bro. That's on. But just what you were saying, cuz on all of that, cuz like I really appreciate you just like sharing your journey, but also pumping up others, brother. And appreciate those positive affirmations you've given me also, brother. And yes, you're right. It does the whole journey, but not only that, when I get off here, then there's the editing that's involved, all the other things, and then even just the organizing of like trying to get people on and scheduling all that stuff. Like, you know, I ain't got no bloody PA or anything, cuz
you know, one of the biggest things that I would say to you, brother, is and reach out. I promise you, reach out at any time. Like from what I've seen with with your podcast and the stories that you're hearing, some of it's pretty tough. Like there's some tough stories out there. Be mindful to look after yourself as well in this journey, bro, because we are empaths. Like people like you, me, T, like we feel things deeply. And so it's really important that we reach out to people, you know, that we don't take too much of someone else's pain on. You know, so bro, I promise anything, you pick up the phone at any time of the day, I'm always there for you, bro. I'm believing in your dream, man.
Same, my brother. And I mean it. If it's 3 a.m. and Jeremy Donovan calls, brother, and I'm not busy, bro, even if I'm asleep, I'll pick it up. Cause if I wake up, boom, gotcha. Safe as my brother. Because we don't want that. We don't want that pillar to be, you know, getting used ever again, my man, or any other pillars, you know. And
exactly right.
Grateful, my brother. On there, because so how do people reach out to you if they want to?
So you know, obviously the Instagram, the Jeremy Donovan Dreaming. You can check out the website, you know, jeremydonovan.com. There's heaps of, you know, YouTube videos out there, you know, of, you know, if you just Google, you know, Jeremy Donovan didgeridoo or, you know, Jeremy Donovan keynote speak. But like, please, if anyone has questions, reach out. I always will say that I always will endeavor. It's not my PA answering things. It is always me. So it takes a little bit longer at times to get back to someone, but I will always answer, and the response that you get will always be me.
Yeah, beautiful, brother. Hey, obviously we're gonna get out of here, but I've got a couple of quick ones, brother.
Yep.
One of the famous questions I ask every time is, brother, if you could have one meal for the rest of your life, every day you eat this meal, which one do you choose? Every day you got to eat this.
Oh, yeah. I love my food.
Yep.
Every day for the rest of my life, I would have to say, shit. My one meal, lamb shanks and mashed potato.
Lamb shanks. Who's cooking it, brother? Who's making this lamb shanks?
Well, it has to be slow cooked lamb shanks. It has to be, and my missus, bro, like she's doing her apprenticeship. She's doing her apprenticeship to be a chef. You know, she's an amazing cook, but you know, she's right now is getting her qualification. When she actually genuinely can be, you know, because she comes home from work and she doesn't want to know about cooking. She's all about mingering noodles, you know. You know, but when she genuinely, when she cooks me a feed, it nurtures my soul, brother. It really nurtures my soul. Yeah,
that's the right one, brother. When they cook it like that, brother, go right. Lamb shanks, mashed potatoes, eh? And what are you having on top of it?
Or like it's usually been cooked in the slow cook with like a tomato, like tomato, onion, like the flavors.
Say no more, brother. All right then, brother. Superpowers, cuss. Besides all those beautiful superpowers you possess, if you wanted to create one or choose one in the realm of superpowers, what one are we going?
I was talking. Me and the bro Matty were talking about it this morning, and it was we were talking about octopuses, and we were talking about chameleons, and about how in an instant they can change their color, like they can change whatever they look like, so they can blend into something. Yes. And I was just like, that technology that those animals have is something that we haven't as humans been able to create yet. We're still, you know, and it's, you know, so it's that shape shifting. I love it. I would love to be able to do that.
Is that like in your culture that they talk about like shape shifting or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, most Indigenous cultures around the world, brother, that I've had the chance to sit with and to learn from, they talk about shapeshifters.
You're the Shapeshifters. Good band too, Shapeshifter.
Absolutely.
Definitely, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, give us a piece of advice, brother. One piece for an artist out there, one piece for a keynote or someone that wants to do speaking of any kind with it. And then give me one more piece, brother, for someone that's, I guess, playing an instrument out there, or you know, can you give us one for each?
All right, so I'm going to start with keynote speaking. For anyone that's learning to, you know, or wanting to pursue that path, learn to breathe. Your breath is the greatest gift that you ever give yourself on stage. It's the greatest gift you ever give yourself in life. But at a time, you know, on stage, if emotions come up, if you stumble across the words, don't try and outdo your breath. Stop, take a breath, collect yourself, and then go again. Your breath is the greatest power that you have on stage. And it's a really powerful tool of silence as well, is to stand in a moment of emotion and to really breathe it in. You really feel it. It's a really powerful gift. It's one of the biggest things that I see people challenged with on the stage, is they try and speak more words than their breath allows them to speak. And so they run out of breath. And in doing so, it makes your flow really stagnant, because you got to go and then go again. And it's the same thing, you know, music. Don't ever, my biggest gift, my biggest, you know, sort of advice or to anyone, you know, chasing the music dream is don't play music for anyone else. Play for yourself. Fall in love with the music that you play for you. And then it doesn't actually fucking matter who listens, because you love the music. And if you get, you know, if you find the platform on a stage where you get to play for 100, 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, it doesn't matter, because you're still turning up every day and just playing for yourself. And that's, that's the thing for me, you know, as a didgeridoo player, as a cultural music artist, I don't play for anyone else except myself. I love what I do. And so that's the music, that's the speaking. What was the other one?
Art, brother.
Art. Man, fall in love with, you know, as an artist, be inspired by other people's creation. You know, like I'm not a portrait artist. It's not what I can do. And so like I look at my bro Matty, like I'm mesmerized by other artists. So rather than saying, oh, they're okay, they're good artists, I'm like, nah, they're fucking maestros. And I love looking at the best of the best in whatever the field it is, you know, and then allowing their artistic intelligence to inspire my artistic intelligence. And it was one of the conversations that we had on the drive up, is that there is a really beautiful intelligence that exists within art. You know, because this is someone's interpretation of something and you're bringing that to life. That takes huge amounts of artistic intelligence.
Solid, my brother. Last question before we get out of here. What does life look like in 10 years' time for my brother Jeremy Donovan? Visualization, Kazi.
My life looks fairly similar to the life I'm living today. I'm traveling the world. I'm traveling the country. I'm creating artworks that are putting rainbows in people's lives. You know, like it's, you know, putting color and happiness in people's lives, because it puts happiness in my life. You know, the one thing about the beauty that I get the chance to, even at 60 years old, or at 50 years old, at 50, because in 10 years I'll be 55, in 20 years I'll be 65. I mean, I'm not afraid, like, I will be so healthy in 20 years' time. I'll still be painting murals with cans. I want to be a great grandfather and still fucking do a graph piece. I'm not afraid of that. I'm never going to grow out of this. This is my dream. You know, so in 10 years' time, from a perspective of just being able to spend the time that I want with my family whenever I want, and to go wherever I want to go with my family. And if my daughter says, Dad, I'm going to be in New York for the fashion week, I'm like, doesn't matter what I'm doing, I can always go. I can be there. I don't have to go, okay, I need to work out how to make that happen financially. I'm like, yeah, easy. I'll drop my paint and I'll fucking get on the plane and support her dream and see her on whatever stage. If my son debuts and it's in Melbourne, I want to be able to, no matter where I am in the world, say,
Might be Vegas, brother.
I'll be there. Yeah, if it's Vegas, fuck, let's go.
Let's go, brother. Definitely, cuz. Hey, I just thought of one more question. Top 5 rappers of all time.
Wow, top 5. I would have to say, so Tupac for me is like one of my, you know, is always going to be a favorite. Bone Thugs and Harmony, you know, they've such amazing lyricists. Eminem, you know, not necessarily all of his music, but his poetic intelligence is through the roof.
Oh yeah. Like separate the message even just from the actual artistry and how intricate and how he breaks up syllables, you know, and all that kind of.
As someone who writes poetry, man, I marvel at his ability to weave words constantly. It's, you know, so Eminem, I love, you know, it's probably not hip hop, but it's, you know, the R&B, Nate Dogg, you know, the era of Nate Dogg. Yeah. You know, he put a melody in hip hop. You know, he put it. You know, he was so smooth. And the last one is probably more recent. And it's probably the both of them, like Nipsey and the Game. You know, they're true to their cause. They were true to their cause. You know,
Nipsey was to the point that he died because of it still. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you watch, you know, some of those YouTube videos of Nipsey Hussle, he was thinking, his thought process was amazing. Like his intelligence to break free from poverty was so there. You know, he wanted to inspire a culture to break out of the world of poverty. You know, they were born into it. You know, and I've been really privileged in my life to be able to go to Crenshaw and to play didgeridoo in Crenshaw. I've sat with some of the, you know, the gangs of America, predominantly in Los Angeles, and being able to play didgeridoo there and to be able to, you know, listen to their stories. And every single one of them says they wish they were never involved in the gangs, but that's just the life that they were born into.
Brother, I know I said last one, but this is actual last one. What does didgeridoo mean to you?
So the word didgeridoo is not even an Aboriginal word. It's a white man's word.
No, but the actual...
The instrument. Like in our language, yiggy yiggy, the word didgeridoo, or the instrument to me is my life. It gave me a voice when I wasn't brave enough to speak. And so it is everything. I don't exist without the didgeridoo.
Thanks, brother. That's a good way to end it, brother. I just want to say time is the most valuable commodity we have as human beings, my brother. The one thing you can never get back, you can always get back money, things, but time spent is time lost. So thank you so much for sharing over an hour of time with me and anybody that listens to this for years to come. I appreciate you, my brother. And if you ever call, just as you've said, I will also pick up that call, brother, even if it's in the middle of the night. Keep inspiring, keep being great, keep being amazing, brother, and success to you. And I can't wait to see you and your family achieve all the great things that you have ahead of you.
Oh, my brother. Take care.
Thank you so much for watching this full episode of Mind the Mic. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to create these episodes. So to know that you've watched and listened to the entire thing means the world to myself and all our hosts. If you could, before you leave, please hit the subscribe button and share this episode out to as many people as possible. It would help us so much. Thank you again to everybody that's still here, still watching. Thank you for all your comments, all your shares, all the DMs. Appreciate you all. Make sure you follow us on every platform. Have an awesome morning. Have an awesome night, depending on where you are in the world. Mind the mic out.
Oi, have you hit the link in bio yet?
Watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all streaming platforms.